Kim, can you hear us?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad you made it and joined us. Just want to let you guys know that there are microphones in all the locations. So anything you say at this point is being recorded. So please keep, your voices to a minimum. If you have questions, wait for Michelle to ask for questions or hold them to the end, or you can raise your hand. I'll let her know if I see someone on the screen. But I'm so glad you guys joined, and I think that we're going to have a fantastic presentation recognizing and embracing substantive change. Michelle's presenting, and then once we have this session, it is recorded and it will be placed on our Blackboard site, which is Human Resources and then Professional Development tab, and it should say 2013 Spring Professional Development Training Series. So let those know that maybe weren't able to make it today, that it will be available for them at their convenience, probably about Wednesday of next week. Any questions at this point? No? Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Michelle, and please hold your questions until she asks for them. Thank you.
Okay, let's start recognizing and embracing substantive change. And the agenda for today is I will define substantive change, and we will look at some examples to recognize substantive change, and then we'll have an activity. So what is substantive change? It's a significant modification or expansion of the nature and scope of an accredited institution. What does that really mean for you? First off, notify IE of any possible substantive changes, even if you are not really sure what a substantive change is. Change in general, just let IE know what's going on with the sites, the programs. So throughout this session, please keep in mind that you do not need to be an expert in substantive change. You can come to IE whenever you need consultation, and we can help determine for you and what kind of reporting is necessary.
Daisha.
Yes.
Michelle. I'm sorry, Michelle. Is there any way that what's up on that board can be projected to us somehow so we can see it?
You cannot see it.
We can only see the small screen, and I can't.
Okay.
No ma'am, I can't see what's on the screen.
On presentation.
I can't see the presentation that she's going through.
She's not seeing it.
She sees our room and not
She's
the
seeing
presentation.
The room.
Right, I see the room. We see the room and the screen, and
I see exactly what you're seeing.
Thank you.
Give us just 1 second. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you, Daisha.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
No, that's no problem.
Hi, Kim.
Not that I don't want to listen to you, Michelle.
Now I want you to see this PowerPoint.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Are you seeing the PowerPoint now?
Yeah, it's much better. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you. Okay. Substantive changes must be reported to SACS in a given amount of time prior to the initiation of change. Generally, that means 3 to 6 months, depending on the type of substantive changes. And also keep in mind, notifying SACS of substantive change is necessary in complying with Department of Education, maintaining, making sure that they will give financial aid to those in the new programs. So ironically, while SACS has let up on the things needing to be reported, reporting on existing programs will continue to be reported on to meet the DOE needs. So we would rather hear from many of you about possible substantive changes than none of you, so that we can report them if necessary. There are 3 procedures for reporting substantive change. The first is to notify and receive approval for significant changes that would require a full or modified prospectus. Typically submitting 6 months prior to the change. SACS will need to approve the prospectus before that change can occur, and significant changes can be anything from lengthening a program to relocating a site to mergers or consolidations. The second is to just notify SACS with a letter of notification anytime prior to the implementation. Again, depending on the type of change, the letter may need to be sent 6 months prior to implementation. And the more specific example of that 6 months is initiating a joint or dual awarding program with another college. That's a formal agreement with another college. Oopsies. The third is to notify SACS and receive approval of a teach out. If you were to close a program or a site or a branch campus, we need to submit a letter with a teach out plan. The teach out plan needs to be approved before the close can happen. So common types of substantive changes that are specific to a program are if altering significantly the length of a program, which is 25% or more. This will require a prospectus. If the addition of new courses to an existing program is significantly different, that is 25% or more, of a program offered at the site, that requires a letter of notification. If the initiation of an entirely new program is significantly different than what is offered, then a prospectus will be required. Repackaging existing curriculum to create a new program, we will need to send a letter to appease DOE. Now, common types of substantive changes that are specific to location or site changes are initiating a branch campus geographically apart from the main campus, where at least half of the credential is offered, will require a prospectus and approval 6 months prior to the initiation. If it is 25%, if initiating an off-campus site like at a high school, having these dual enrollment programs at high schools, where at least 25% of the credential is offered, then 25 to 49% of the credential can be earned at that off-campus site, then a letter will need to be sent prior to reaching the 25% point. If it reaches before reaching the 50% point, a prospectus will need to be submitted. And relocating an already approved off-campus instructional site serving the same geographic area is only a letter. Entering a formal agreement involving a joint or dual academic award program also requires a letter. And we have a little activity that I will present some examples of some substantive changes, and it is either, it's kind of hard. Well, okay, it's either a substantive change that requires a letter of notification, a substantive change that requires a modified prospectus, or a substantive change that requires a full prospectus, or they're not substantive changes, however they might require reporting for other agencies like DOE. I'm actually I'll give this to you.
Would you like to split this?
Okay.
Thank you.
This is a activity, but we'll just do it together. David, would you like to know about substitution?
Absolutely.
Sure. Good.
And Michelle, if you would like this included on the Blood website, just send it to me as an attachment, and I'll include it there.
I have other ones too, I'll send you. This is the table that they provided.
It's in the whole policy about it.
But everything about substantive change in a nice little table. And Kim and Shelley, I'm sorry I don't have the handouts for you. But,
That's okay, our answer was just gonna be ask Michelle anyway.
Yeah, so, but I'll go through the answers. They say A, B, or C, which is reflective of the handout, but you can't see it, but that's okay. All the content's here. Okay, we'll go through it. So first example, CC will offer one class, which is 6 credits of an existing certificate, a total of 17 credits, at a local high school where we do not currently offer any other programs. So that could be 3 degrees of substantive change, being letter, prospectus, a letter, a modified prospectus, a full prospectus, or not a substantive change at all. This is a letter of notification. It is the least amount of time it's the least in-depth type of reporting to SACS, pretty much. So why is it a letter of prospectus, you may ask? Because the student can earn between 25 to 49% of credits toward an already approved credential. The class will be offered at a new off-campus site, and the notification needs to be sent prior to that 25% mark.
So Michelle, with this letter of notification, is that something that the department chair would do, or is that something that your team would take care of?
That is a good question, and a many-tiered answer. So, first of all, the whole reason I'm trying to give the substantive change presentation is to project knowledge of knowing what these substantive changes are from any level of the college, whether it be just an instructor, the department chair, or the dean. So knowing that these changes can exist and then bringing it to the IE department really, and then from there, the dean and the IE department will work together on the content of the notification that we send out to SACS. So really the content is based on administrative level up there, deans and the IE department. And, but knowing about it, anyone can tell us about it. It doesn't have to be the dean. Hopefully it's more. Okay. Oh. Let me say one more thing about this. I had mentioned sending the notification, which is the letter, prior to the 25% point. However, before the halfway mark is reached, a prospectus will need to be changed. So credentials like these need to be monitored to that 25% point, and then the halfway mark. Both marks need to be reported on before they reach that mark. Second example, CC will offer 9 credits of an existing certificate at 17 credits at a local high school where we do not currently offer any other programs. This kind of sounds a little familiar. But the proposed high school site will become the 4th off-campus site to offer this program. Okay, we're getting into the little details here, which again, please consult the IE department. Your dean and I will work with you, or we will send out these notifications, but we need content, we need to know. So this 4th off-campus site is what's really the trigger. It will require a modified prospectus versus the last example was just a letter, because the student can earn at least half of the credits toward an already approved credential. And the site will be the 4th or more off-campus site to offer the program. So only a modified prospectus is required versus a full prospectus if half or more of the credential were earned at the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd off-campus site. And that's that. In the fall, the Laser and Photonics Technology degree will be offered at the Siler City location in addition to its Lillington location. Does anyone want to guess what this might be? What degree of reporting might this be? A letter, a prospectus, or maybe not even any kind of reporting. Kim, would you like to take a guess?
I would say prospectus.
Okay. Then you will be happy to know it's only a letter. The
I'm
argument.
glad to know that. I'm still stuck on prospectus thing. I think I've been scarred.
Well, really, actually, I'm glad your default is to think that it's a prospectus because that will promote more telling the IE department because you'll think that it's, and then you'll be so pleased that it's not a prospectus. So
Exactly.
we like to give good news too.
Therefore, I default to my first answer, ask Michelle.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Okay, so this is already an approved program and it is not significantly, so it's not significantly different from this existing site or the site that it will be at.
That's good news to
A local business had asked us to offer a welding certificate at their facility for a one-time only specific target audience on short notice. So this is more workforce development focused. And is Shelley there? Shelley, do you want to take a guess what this might be? A letter or a prospectus?
A letter.
A letter. Either way, we would have to report on this because it's a modified prospectus. It's not a full prospectus. Okay, so
Ask Michelle.
because offering a previously approved program at an unapproved off-campus site validates a modified prospectus versus a full prospectus if the site were seen as a more permanent location. So this site approval will be valid for 5 years, but only for the workforce development certificate originally proposed. Submitting a modified prospectus is not a valid form of reporting if it were an ongoing certificate program, because that would require a full prospectus. Due to state changes, CCCC plans to replace the MET associate degree with the CAD technology degree. Drafting has always been the focus of MET. MET graduates are employed as drafting technicians. The faculty, resources, and location will not be changed, and 25.4% of the associate degree will be different. Amy, would you like to guess what this might be? A letter, a prospectus.
I think it's either a letter or a modified prospectus.
I think that is a great answer, because both we will have to report. So it's a letter of notification, and that's because this is a repackaging of existing approved curriculum. No additional resources are needed, and it has less than a quarter of the coursework changed. Notice that 25.4%. Yes, that's less than a quarter in our eyes, if we can justify it. So it's not a significant departure from the original program. Additionally, this repackaged program will not be any different than what's already offered at the site. The Broadcasting Production Program will begin offering a new certificate. The courses for the certificate will be taken from approved curriculum. Approved curriculum. Who wants to answer this one? It's an easy one. It's no reporting. It's not a substantive change because all aspects of the new certificate are already approved. However, to meet DOE's, but we do need to report it. Did I say that? Okay. To meet the DOE's needs of releasing financial aid for the program, SACS needs to get acknowledgement of this credential to then give their financial aid. Ideally, this notification will be sent prior to the credential offering to speedily situate any new student's financial aid for the program. In the fall, the toxicology technician program will be closing at all our campus locations. What does that look like? Would that be a substantive change Would that be a letter of notification or a prospectus? John, I'm gonna pick on you.
Closure, an absolute closure of a program?
An absolute closure at everywhere. What kind of reporting is that, if at all?
Oh, it's definitely reporting.
Okay,
I know
good.
I think, well, my recollection is you send notification, along with the evidence of how you're gonna work the students that are in the program through the remainder of the program.
Good job. It's a letter of notification with the teach-out arrangements. So once the decision to close a program has been made, notification needs to be sent and the teach-out arrangements need to be included. The teach-out arrangements need to be approved prior to the close. So closing a program approved off-campus site or branch campus will require a letter of notification immediately following the decision. And note, if CCCC teaches out the students, a teach-out plan will be submitted. If another institution teaches out the students, a teach-out agreement will be submitted. The letter of notification with teach-out agreement needs to be sent at least 3 months prior to the implementation and be approved before the closure can happen. CCCC plans to reconfigure existing courses in 2 approved programs to create a new degree. 15% of the program will be new. And I won't let anyone answer this because this is actually very confusing. Because first of all, there's not enough information here. So keep in mind, when you do come to IE, we will be probing you for questions about every single part of the change, what really is changing. Because this could either be a substantive change, which we will report as a
Notification.
as just a letter, or it could be even lengthier, which could be a prospectus, and it's based on these facts. It would be a letter to report if the newly proposed degree were not significantly different than existing programs already offered.
So healthcare management would be an example of one, that there wasn't a substantive amount of new content. If we added 4 courses or something to the business administration degree,
Correct.
and swap some things in and out, but it wasn't hitting a threshold that made it a substantive change.
Correct. So that name change, reporting it to SACS would meet the needs of DOE to give that financial aid if needed, hence the letter. That's why we would do the letter.
Right.
And it would be a minimal amount of, it would be mostly repackaging, basically.
Right. Yeah, that's the right word, repackaging.
Or it could be a prospectus, if it is a substantial change, if a lot of it is being changed. The newly proposed program were a significant departure from already approved programs. So, based on the surroundings, be different. Okay. CCCC enters into an articulation agreement with Campbell University for graduates of the Human Services program to transfer into their BSW program.
Not changing the program, we're just signing an articulation agreement.
Articulation agreement. Yes.
That's, I don't think that's a substantive change. If it's just an agreement, if we're not changing the program.
You know this too well. It is an articulation agreement, so it is informal, which means it's not a substantive change, and we don't need to report it. We don't need to appease DOE with this kind of information.
Right.
And I'll throw this in too for Kim and John. It's for clinical or internship agreements. These are along the same lines, so they don't need to be reported on either. Only contractual agreements or consortiums would require a letter of notification.
So what's the difference between a contractual agreement and an articulation agreement?
So I'm going with the formal, informal.
Okay.
So articulation agreement is more of an informal way of agreeing to something. And there's no paper evidence, there's no one signs anything that we can't report on.
I don't think we have any articulation agreements that we don't sign.
Well, informal.
And
Let's just go back a little step.
So it's basically a signed agreement versus a handshake agreement? that one way to couch that?
I think a contractual agreement might involve the other institution teaching
ISA.
your own students while they're still your students.
Okay.
Or a joint type of program, as opposed to just, we're finished with our students, now they're gonna go to you.
Okay, so a dual enrollment would be more like a contractual agreement versus an articulation agreement, which is just a handoff of a baton, saying,
Right,
at
there's-
the
if
point the
there's
students
no-
completed this program of study, you're agreeing to accept what they completed
Right,
for what you're defining as your program over there.
Correct, because they neither receive a dual award, nor are they in a joint enrolled.
Okay, so
Situation.
an example of that might be a ribbon student who's dual enrolled at NC Central in nursing and at CCCC in nursing would be entering into an agreement that would be a contractual agreement. Is that right?
Which would require reporting.
Versus Fayetteville State agrees to take our early childhood graduates. I'm not saying dual enrollment, I'm saying just, they say if an early childhood graduate finishes that program, we'll accept 100% of the credits from the AAS, plus some bridge work that they have to add, and you can inform them that that will give them what they need to get into the school of education at Fayetteville State.
Correct.
we're not changing anything about our program at
That's right.
Fayetteville State. Now Fayetteville State may have to report that to SACS.
That's what I'm saying, they'll have to do it.
Right, right, but for us, we're not changing anything about our program that SACS requires us to report. It may be a reporting issue for the receiving institution.
Okay.
It's
They're all contracts to me, but
Yeah, it can get complicated, and I think we go back to Kim Laird's default answer is always correct,
Yes.
which
it
is call Michelle or call IE, because it can
But it
get so
is.
complicated. We have to look it up. Sometimes we actually have to call SACS or we have to consult with SACS, because it gets so complicated that we can't even tell from the resource materials.
Right.
So it's always correct to just call us.
And I think
Michelle.
that's a great way to end
Michelle?
it. Yes, yes.
So just to make sure, with the previous side and signing contracts and things like that, that's really more oriented to signing contracts with another institution, educational institution, right?
It
And
can
not
be,
necessarily,
it can be an institution that's actually accredited or non-accredited. So
okay, because just to make sure, like we're signing contracts with these, with facilities for physical therapy assistant students to go out into the facilities. And there will be a member in the facility that will serve as the clinical instructor, which is kind of an extension of our faculty.
that's more meaningful
So-
to CAPI than it is to SACS.
okay.
Okay,
that-
I just want to make sure,
Yeah, for SACS
I heard that
purposes,
Steve
clinic-
Matthews,
yeah, clinicals do not need to be reported to SACS.
okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Anytime you're
for-
saying,
You see
if you're
where
just
she-
saying, you're saying, when you're talking about signing contracts or agreements, that always hurts our interest. So we just want to make sure we're doing everything and reporting everything as Michelle and Linda will want us to.
You see,
Right,
you see why she went down that road? What she was trying where she was trying to separate that from what we already do, it still doesn't change the answer, I think, but she noticed the difference, which was the way it works in PTA is the accrediting agency expects us to have a person who works at that clinical site, serving as our clinical instructor. It's not just having a warm body that we hire an independent contractor that runs out to that site and gets permission to be at that site. They're expecting the person to be resident at that site. Now, I don't know that that impacts SACS. That's what the accrediting agency for PTA tells us they want us to do. But to me, that doesn't change the answer vis-a-vis SACS.
Yeah, because it
That's
wouldn't-
not an education institution is the point. It's not Lillington Physical Therapy is not a higher education institution. It's a clinical site. It's just the accrediting agency for PPA has told us how they want us to staff it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that in the terms of, and SAC's language uses branch campus versus off-campus, so I'm putting that into the context of if it would at all, it would fall under a branch campus.
I've never known clinical sites to be treated as branch campuses, so they're
Right,
field,
but clinical.
they're field sites.
Well, I don't know. Well, for regular clinicals, do our faculty go there? Regular
Oh, yeah.
clinicals?
I mean, yeah, our regular faculty go to clinical sites all over the place. They go to co-op internships out in the field. I mean, to me, the
Yeah,
way the
so
community
that's-
college system is always labeled that are field assignments.
That's along the same lines.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Because we don't
Yeah, good
control those entities.
Mhm.
It's hands-on practice out in the field at an organization or site or agency that we don't control.
And I think that was a great discussion to reflect how confusing substantive change is. So don't be overwhelmed because it's confusing, and come to IE and we'll figure it out together. So, okay, well, I guess I already said this. Please come to IE of any possible programs as soon as you hear about them because of SAC's needs or wants for having prior approval or prior notification, and that's generally 3 to 6 months before the change. So I want to make a point again, this is still connected to everything accrediting our whole institution. Reporting these changes for just one program can affect the accreditation of our whole college. So again, advanced notification, questionable changes, come to IE so that we can maintain our accreditation and to keep having appreciation get-togethers for our reaching our 18%. Our every 5-year accreditation reports, reaching that 18% of great colleges that don't always get a clean report. And does anyone else have any questions?
I just want to add one thing, Michelle, and you've done a great job. When you notify us of a substantive change, you want to notify us actually well before the 3 to 6 month threshold because it takes time to put these documents together. A full prospectus with all the supporting documents can be well over 100 pages. It contains information coming from many departments in the college and many different people's expertise. So if you have something that requires a prospectus, you can't just come to us 6 months and 1 day before your change is going to take effect. Especially with a prospectus or modified prospectus, we need a good bit of time. To really. We like to have a month or two. Those usually take about that long to get everything in good shape. And then we go through the draft process, the first draft and the second draft and the third draft, because we want to make sure it's done correctly if we send it to SACS, since it's representing our institution with our accreditor. So
That is a good point. It takes us a while to
Amen to that.
says one who knows.
Yes, this one was just dealt with it.
Successfully dealt with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Well, I think that wraps up our session. So if there's no other questions, Kim, Shelley, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask of Michelle or Linda, since we have the experts in the room?
I think we've chimed in as best we can.
Well, thank you both for attending and
Thank
letting us
you.
know that you were unable to see the PowerPoint in the beginning.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. And
Welcome.
I'm going to close out so everything will go blank, but I appreciate it and let everyone know it is up on our Blackboard site. Will be Wednesday of next week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.